So on the Empire Pass program, so
oh my God, here it is.
An app that we have been working with IBM.
So New York State is creating this app. New York State is creating an app. New York State is working with IBM, which means if you're a New Yorker, this is your tax dollars going to IBM to make an app to control us. I'm not joking. I'll be clear about this. You are paying to be controlled. Now, would IBM make it without us having to pay tax dollars? Probably. Would we have a better app? Yeah, because others would be trying to do it also. They'd be competing to get the best app. Yeah, but that's not how New York State works. New York State said, well, people don't have, they don't have enough entertainment. So New York City decided to start doing entertainment. Why? Well, we don't have hand sanitizer. So New York State makes hand sanitizer. Well, now we don't have an app. So New York State makes an app. All we do is invoke government monopoly. Invoke government monopoly. Taxpayers are paying money, are paying dollars for this. Our budget is broken. So he thought, our budget being broke, you know what we should do? Spend money on an app. That's a good idea. Let's do that. Our budget's broken. Let's spend money on an app.
On that app, when you get tested, if with your consent, the results of that test can be reported automatically to the app.
So when you get tested, your results get reported, right, with your consent. Okay, what if you don't consent? Do they get reported? Anonymously or not reported at all? And if they don't get reported at all, why did my tax dollars go to something I'm not going to use again if I can say no? And then once we have the Empire Pass, which is going to be the special pass, isn't basically almost every venue going to use it? So that now, because you're going to say testing requirements, so now aren't you by default making us have to put our name and consent, or we just can't hang out in places anymore? So I can't go to a hockey game or a baseball game or a football game or a basketball game unless I consent to the app. That's the future. Taxpayer dollars at work, monopoly owning all our information. What could go wrong?
And then you can then show proof of a negative test upon entrance to any of these events that require testing.
Oh,
that
there we
app
go.
has been tested right now, both at Barclays and at Madison Square Garden. And those tests have been successful.
There we go.
So once we get the approvals, the app will be available for
Look at that.
Download on both platforms on Google.
And New York State. It's a New York State app. Like Facebook isn't bad enough. Like YouTube isn't bad enough. Twitter's not bad enough. Now the Empire State has its own way of collecting more data on you. And I'm sure the cybersecurity is perfect. I'm sure there'd be no problem with that at all, right? Law enforcement wouldn't use that to decide who they think is an anti-vaxxer and go after them, would they? I bet that would never happen.
On Apple platforms, people to download to their smartphones. And that will allow someone to show the result of their test, whether it be a PCR test, which will be valid for up to 72 hours, or a rapid test, which will be valid for 6 hours.
Look at that.
In addition, though, if you don't want to use an app, you will be able to download a paper result of your test that you can then print out and use that to demonstrate your negative test.
To demonstrate you've done exactly as you're supposed to do. You have done what we have ordered. Literally, where are your papers? Oh, you want to go to this area? Where are your papers? Yes, this will become. That's what yesterday I was talking about how if you now come in, if you fly into New York City, literally people with uniforms and guns move you around to ensure you fill out your paperwork. That's what actually happens in New York City now, and most of New York. So what happens now? Yes, now this.
So again, this was all tested, started with the Bills games. It has been tested at 2 events.
Here's what I would ask you. Who asked for this? Like who, where New Yorkers like, you know what we need? An app to keep track of our data. That's what we need. We need the government to come up with an app to take more of our data so that we do medical testing and the government can keep track of all our information. Is that what New Yorkers were begging for? Or is that what you thought was a good idea because you know better? Yeah, it's the latter.
Recently, the most recent one as early as last night, and that will be available, and we'll start rolling that out again, beginning within a week.
I love what we're spending our money on.
And you can use that to go to some of these events when we want to get to the larger numbers. Like I said, to go to.
You can use it, or you can't hang out with us.
Indoor events.
You can't be with cool kids. You want to go to a wedding? No. Wear your papers. You want to go watch a Yankee game? Wear your papers. That's where we are now.
Or outdoor.